so starting with Andy and ending up with Molly.
So earlier tonight, I advocated a mixed income and mixed multi-level kind of housing in this whole piece. I would like to see us ask some architects like Hayo Maya to design some vision for us that we could then have a meeting of the community to discuss. We need to partner. We need housing for multiple uses right now. Not just seniors, singles, families as well. And therefore, let's think of a way to make this work. And one of the ways is to intermix private builders developing houses from the market and other houses held by the society for non-market purposes. What we have to build up in this community again is low and middle income housing. It's not going to be built by the village, but it could be built by Kaslo Housing Society if we help them do that.
Ultimately, my vision for the entire 3 acres of land would be mixed income housing. I would like to see people of all ages and all income levels living up in that area. It's a beautiful area with gorgeous views. It's flat and looks easy to develop, at least part of it. I think ultimately the way we go about doing that is by consulting the community. Community involvement has to be encouraged. It has to be welcomed. And we need to make sure that we're all on board, because only by working together will we actually accomplish what we have, our vision.
So I know so far in the election I've talked a lot about making sure the community is part of the decisions that happen. And I think this, when it comes to developing this area, I'm not exactly sure the area we're talking about. I've got a rough idea, but I don't see it on a map in front of me when it comes to the 3 acres. So this is another one of those where it's a very big decision. We definitely need to talk to the community and see if the community wants it to be there. See where the community, like what kind of buildings the community would like to see. And then it would be cool if we could just have a vote on if they want the buildings there in all the 3 acres. I'm not sure exactly where it is. And what kind of buildings they would like to see there.
Well, again, the work that council has done and staff and the consultant CTC that put together the land project for Kaslo recently clearly identified that South Kaslo land there, it needs to be included in the OCP. There's nothing mentioned in it at all. The OCP is the official community plan that requires extensive community consultation, public consultation. Nobody has an idea of how to even deal with that amount of land, sitting in our room or sitting in council. This is a big question, and that's one of the reasons I also voted for the 0.8 of an acre. Without a concrete plan for that whole area, it just doesn't make economical sense to develop it and for one purpose.
I think there comes a point where more is better. I believe you can get more funding, you have more ability. Think of what 1/8 of an acre is. It's nothing, especially when you start putting in infrastructure. It doesn't show a real good track record. I think 3 acres, and that gives you a lot of leeway to make something magnificent that catches the imaginations of our bureaucrats in Ottawa and Victoria. I would like to invite you to go to the new initiative called Land Lease Affordable Housing. The village has the land, it can lease it, and we could maybe work something out along that line. This is a really innovative thing, and it's where the banks are cooperating with this initiative by the looks of it. I think you could even get private sectors into it, and I think you could get more government involvement in it. That's just the short of it.
I'll withhold comment on what I think the village of Kaslo should do with its land. But what I will say is that when it comes to consultation, how you consult is really important in getting results that are accurate and a community focus. A referendum, which is what most people think of, is really expensive and really hard to capture the nuances of this type of conversation. You can go from that angle to community surveys, which are able to capture more information and more broad spectrum of how to address it, because the community themselves, the people on the ground, very often have some solutions that council should be looking at as well, beyond what we might be thinking. So I think how they consult is a pretty important factor, but really it's the village of Kaslo's call, not ours.
Yeah, that piece of land from the river up to the Arena Road, there's a big piece. And so what are your options? Your options are to develop it. You just saw some land south of Kaslo being developed. You know, you can clear it, you can put roads in. But if you're going to develop it, you got to put in roads, water, power, and develop it. So then it comes down to who's going to develop it. Is the village going to develop it? Or are they going to put it out to private tender? Or are they going to partner with somebody? It's all developable. The problem is you could put too many lots on the market, and then you'll have a hard time selling them. So, and you have to factor in your cost. What's it cost to build the roads? At the very least, to get in there to develop that land, you're going to put some parks in there. You're going to put a Tim Hortons in there. You know, anything's possible, right? But it's all, where's the money going to come from, and who's going to do it?
Actually, the land in question has two levels. This 0.8 is on the bottom of a hill, the other part is on top. So no matter what kind of infrastructure you do, you need two. You need to come from the bottom, you need to come from the top. When we made this motion to give the housing society this property, that was my first initiation to one of the council meetings, because they came with a presentation, and I went to bat a little bit of, why don't we give them a small piece to let them show us what they can do, keep the other ones in mind for them in the future, show what you can do, the door is open, and let's talk then again after it is built. Why want a castle and you can't build a hut? So show what you can, you will cooperate, because the town, we have, the councils at our discretion can do quite a bit of work to work with building a road. We cannot put power in, that's a totally different ballgame that is not controlled by us. We need a road first before you can get power in, because they want to know where they put the poles. Come with a plan and we'll work with them, and I would like to do that.
Can I clarify, Erica, were you talking about just Oak and the Lovers property, or were you also talking about the, like basically all of the large tracts of municipal land?
Yeah, well, where it's contiguous and would sort of suit a single infrastructure development plan, basically, yeah, contiguous.
All right. As I had said before, I think that it's still a good idea to go with a smaller property. I know the upfront costs would be worse, right up front, but there could be agreements put in place, and certainly that is an area where municipal staff could assist, because we do, C.O. Smith is a planner, so he has the skills and the knowledge to assist in that area, and I believe he has offered before. So, and as far as go big or go home and go for the larger grant funds, I don't think that always works, because sure, there's $44 million or $44 billion, whatever the figure was, but it covers a large area, and one small community isn't going to be able to access a large amount of money. So if you've got a mega project, you're actually going to price yourself out of the game, because they're not going to give small community Kaslo, $10 million and then spread, the other 90 out over the rest of the province. So we've got to be careful not to price ourselves out of the market. And that's why I think that it should be in baby steps and demonstrate that a project can be successfully completed and provide the services that are being required by the community. And then go for another one. The lands assessment was done for this very reason, so that we know what the municipality has, what services each of the lots have. So I think the conversation between the Housing Society and whoever sits at the council table is going to be very important.
Just to redirect, I also had wondered what your vision of that area is, and not necessarily our part in it, but how to get public feedback on how that very large tract of land, which looks very valuable to anyone who knows any real estate, how you would arrive at a consensus as best you can within this village about the disposition of that large piece of land. It's 14 acres, so all told, that whole contiguous piece. So, and was it Andy who mentioned earlier? It's not in, or is it Kelly? It's not currently informed in the OCP about how we're going to, what we think as a community should be done with all of that land.
That's the process. That's the process for something like that. It's public land. That's your land. That's the people here. That it has to go through an OCP process. And you were here for the last one. You know what that entails. It's a pretty big deal, and it takes a lot of consultation, a lot of public input. I think that's the way, isn't it? I don't have any idea.
Yeah, I'm sort of beating the same drum here. I mean, it's very well to do that, to develop that land properly would probably require some changes to the OCP, which would trigger a whole series of public consultation, meetings throughout the community, discussions. We only recently received the lands assessment, basically within the last month or less, so the council really hasn't had a chance to sit down and dig into it with any, to even establish what the priorities are. So plans to develop that land are definitely a ways down the road, and it'll be a job for the next council, but it'll take some time.
If I could just give some clarification here, that $44 billion is only available for about the next year and a half to be earmarked. So it's up to housing societies to put their bids in now. So the government is willing to fund over 75%, even more, but only if you get a commitment. So if the housing society had that land committed, the 3 acres, they could use it as part of the leverage for getting this grant, which will be gone in 2 years. Thank you.
Thanks. I forgot my train of thought now. Now that the lands assessment has been done, I think it would be good to give people time to read it. Then there could be a public meeting so that people could give their input. And that would kind of start the process to open up the OCP again and address that piece of land. From past, experience on council, one of the mistakes we made with the project was that we kept, supporting the next phase of it, and those phases didn't happen. And we have evidence of that sitting in our community. So I think it would be good to just start with something small, get that finished, and then move on to the next phase. So it could be done in tiers. The other problem that we've also had is that when you get grants, you're driven by timelines. And lots of things happen during that time, and sometimes those timelines don't work. And as a village, we've had to send money back because we couldn't fit the deadline. I mean, we're facing that with the sewer system. We got the grant that has to be used by a certain time. So that's another issue to consider when you're trying to do any kind of big project, not to be driven by grant timelines. So start small and then keep building.
I think, well, look at that, it's 9 o'clock. And I really want to thank, unless is there any burning question? Neil, did you have any more follow-up, redirect? No. Anybody burning questions? Okay, we've got one. It's Kit.
I'm just going to excuse myself. My son is 20 minutes past his bedtime and he's falling asleep out there. So.
Well, thanks, Amy, for all your input, and it's valuable information. It's good for all of us.
So realizing the council and mayor today have done, I think, a great job coming as far as they have with this Kaslo Housing Society, and it is a slow process. I mean, because the tax base in Kaslo is really non-existent to be building this type of structure. So the money has to come from outside sources, outside governments, and the bottom line is, you know, maybe this is for the Kaslo Housing Society question, but you know, where is the funding really coming from? Because Kaslo has enough problems with its own tax base to do its own jobs, its own projects. And I know there's like restaurants in town, they can't get people to work because if they get people to work, there's no place for them to live. So, you know, it's a catch-22 endlessly around. And so, you know, the thing is basically where does all this funding really come from, and is it really grabbable? Not with grandiose ideas that I've heard from some of the people tonight, that, oh, you know, we can go do this and we go and get it done, and we can do it. But it's not really that practical in some terms. It could be with, you know, this 4 years and the next 4 years before the next council gets in. So it's something you've got to look for in the future, because it's not going to build these things overnight. And just to cap that off, I grew up in complete poverty in council housing in Great Britain, where, and I don't know if these kinds of people are going to be looked in for low rental, but my mother and 4 kids, no father, often couldn't even afford the rent. You know, there was months we couldn't even pay, but we were never thrown out. So, you know, how does that work in the long run to finance and look after these families that can't afford or they are on low rentals?
I'm not sure where the question is in there.
Well, the question is the funding. You know, there's no tax base here in Kaslo, really.
Well, I can address a little bit of that. We are currently working on a grant application that is through, it's partly CMAC and BC Housing, and so it's a federal and provincial funding model, and they specify for whom we build for, so our project has to go to those parameters. So that gets very specific, and that is partly why, like the last time, we also went to grant applications for BC Housing and Columbia Basin Trust. We failed that one, and it's not quite because the infrastructure was too expensive. It was because we have so little time to prepare these grant applications. At the time, we had no staff, and we had not spelled out exactly how we were going to make that access road. So it's true that that's a big challenge for us to develop that, but that 0.8 acre that we were looking for that project was, we had asked for that land because it suited that application. There are lots of applications out there. Luckily, we do have a housing coordinator to be looking for all those grants, but we also need to get started to the point where there's enough local energy to start helping us with the fundraising. And to me, it's a real question of making sure it's top of mind, and it's top of mind for all of you who are putting your heart into to putting your name out there and being up here and doing all that you do. But so part of the reason for this open house and why we're here is to encourage as many people as possible to help us come together to get that energy, to look for those grants and also that in-kind contribution and just the walkathons, all of that kind of stuff, because every little bit of it is going to count, and we can't do it without everybody's involvement. But there are significant grants that are available at this time. It's a big challenge to meet those timelines and get everything together. So I think with that, I would like to wrap up, because I think everyone's...
I'd just like to offer a comment. If you say you're going to contribute, the village is going to contribute to build a road into the land where the housing wants to build the housing. Let's say the road's $100,000, so the village crew goes in and does it, and then the land, the value is $100,000, and the village crew does it for $20,000 for fuel and wages. But it's $100,000 credit towards the contribution towards the affordable housing. So then the housing society say we have $100,000 committed value towards the contribution. That's how you can work your numbers.
So when we built the arena here, we issued $1,000 bonds that were redeemable and were paid off. If we've got to build a road, and we've got to put pipe in the ground for water and septic, maybe we're going to have to go back to doing some of that as well. Raise some of the money from within the community in the form of a bond to help this housing society get off the ground. That's the way I see us doing this. I agree with you. We don't have the tax base to build. But that shouldn't stop us from thinking outside the box and trying to figure out a way to do this together.
Well, unless there's any burning need to comment more, this is a really good time, I think, to wrap up. And I just want to thank everyone for coming, and all of you especially for putting your names forward. And election day is October 20th at the Village Hall. And I hope everybody feels a bit more informed today. And again, thank you all for coming.
I feel like one final word, Erica. Just thank you for the Housing Society for putting on this forum and allowing people to ask us some really tough questions on, you know, what affordable housing means for Kaslo. Thank you. And thank you for your work, for all the board members, past and present.